In many real-world scenarios, like waiting in a line or service queue, it is important to process tasks or customers in the order they arrive. This is where the queue data structure comes in handy. A queue works on first in, first out principles, meaning that the first element added is the first one to be processed, just like the first person in the line is the first to be served. In this tutorial, we will create this app, as seen on the screen, that allows the user to add and remove and search for people in the queue. For example, if I want to search the queue for names that contains LI, I just type in LI, and then all the names that contain the letter LI are filtered and displayed here. And then if I want to delete from the queue, I can just click on DQ button, the red button. At the moment, the queue has 4 names: Alice, Bob, Charlie, and David. So now I will delete from the queue. As you see, Alice was deleted. If I wanted to, I can now add a new person to the queue. I'll just add James, 30. To add a new person to the queue, I need to click on NQ, which is the green button. And as you can see, James was added to the end of the queue. And then if I want to peek to see who is the next person in the queue, for example, for an appointment to be seen, just click on the peek at front person button, the blue button, and then it should say or show Bob. Yeah, Bob is the next person to be seen in the queue. So now I would delete Bob from the queue. Just click on DQ to remove Bob from the queue. As you can see, Bob has been removed from the queue. And then if I click on the peek button again, it will be Charlie that is the next one to be seen within the queue. And this is the functionality we are creating in this tutorial. Within your project, add a new Swift file. Name the file queue. This will be the queue data structure. Type in the following: public struct queue element and the purpose of that definition is to define a generic struct named queue that can hold elements of type element. So it can hold an array of different types of elements. Private var storage element so that holds an array of elements within the queue. Public init, we just create our default public initializer, which is needed sometimes for creating an empty queue. So the next thing we need to do is to create another initializer to populate our queue. Element, storage equals elements. So what that does is a public initializer that takes an array of elements and initializes a queue. Then we have to create a public mutating function enqueue element. So this mutating method's purpose is just to add items onto the queue. So we have to use storage dot append and pass the element. For example, the person's name and their age, that will be the element. The next method we need to create is our mutating function dequeue method. Elements. No, that should be element, not elements. So the purpose of the dequeue method is to remove items from the queue. So the first thing we have to check if the queue is empty. If storage dot is empty, return nil. Else return storage dot remove first. So it removes the first item at the top of the queue. The next method we need to create is our public function peak method that returns an element, which can be optional. Return storage dot first. So the purpose of the peak method is just to retrieve the next customer to be processed that's within the queue. And then we have to create a computed property to check if the queue is empty or not. So this computed property will return a boolean if it's empty or not. And to enable the user to search the queue, we need to implement a find by name method, internal function find by name, which accepts a name, which is a string, and returns an array of people. return storage dot compact map $.0, as person filter $, dot name contains name. So what we're doing there, we use compact map to filter and cast the elements to a person type, and then filter based on the name that the user typed in. In the next tutorial, we will implement our content view to use our queue data structure. Thank you for joining us. If you found this tutorial helpful, please comment, like and subscribe. See you next week.